Good morning, and welcome to this meeting of the Standing Committee on Social Development. My name is Jane Wayellen Armstrong, and I am the MLA for Mofi-Klitschou Region and Chair of this committee. At this time, I will ask committee members to introduce themselves, starting to my left.
Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to committee. My name is Danny McNeely, the MLA for the Sahtu region.
I'm Kieran Testart. Good morning. I'm the MLA for Range Lake here in Yellowknife.
Good morning. I'm Shauna Morgan, MLA for Yellowknife North.
Thank you. Today, the Standing Committee on Social Development is holding a clause-by-clause review on Bill 34, Trespass to Property Act. Bill 34 received second reading in the Legislative Assembly on October 31st, 2025, and was referred to the committee for review. Committee is joined today by the Honorable Jay McDonald, Minister of Justice. Please proceed with your remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm pleased to be here today to discuss Bill 34, Trespass to Property Act. The purpose of the proposed act is to create a legislative framework that governs trespass to private property, to schools, and to certain types of private interests on public lands, such as leases. The current approach to trespass under a mix of common law and the criminal code creates a significant gap that does not provide timely tools to property owners and lawful occupiers to immediately address instances of trespass that occur outside the narrow criminal code definition that prohibits a person from entering property at night and near a dwelling house. The legislation will create a trespass offense as well as set out criterion, exemptions, and defenses to trespass, forms of giving notice, arrest provisions, and sentences for violations. The act will outline the rights of property owners and lawful occupiers and the consequences for those found in violation. The proposed bill will include significant safeguards for Indigenous rights, including explicit recognition of Indigenous and treaty rights, ensuring Indigenous and treaty rights take precedence in the event of conflict, and requiring that the act be carried out in accordance with any applicable agreements. The proposed act is part of the GNWT's commitment to address public safety concerns by deterring potentially criminal behavior and damage that trespassers may cause. Public engagement has indicated significant support for the legislation. These conclude my opening remarks. I just will list my witnesses today, Madam Chair. Today with me I have Brad Patzer, Assistant Deputy Minister, Attorney General, Department of Justice, and online, Clayton Lowther, Legislative Counsel, Legislative Division, Department of Justice, and Dr. Joe Labine, my Ministerial Special Advisor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Committee, are there any questions for the Minister? Okay, seeing no further questions, does the committee agree to proceed to a clause-by-clause review of Bill 34, Trespass to Property Act? Agreed. Okay, we will defer the number and title of the bill until the end and begin with consideration of the clauses. Clause 1, does committee agree? MLA Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that subclause 1(1) of Bill 34 be amended by deleting the definition occupier and substituting the following. Occupier includes, even if there is more than one occupier of the same premises, A, a person who is in lawful physical possession of premises, or B, a person who has lawful responsibility for and lawful control over the condition of premises or the activities there carried on, or lawful control over persons allowed to enter the premises.
Okay, thank you. The motion is in order. To the motion.
Question?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to explain a bit about the committee's rationale here, we heard a lot from stakeholders, members of the public, the concern that in the draft bill, the way occupier was defined, someone who is currently in physical possession of a premises, that could include someone who isn't legally allowed to be there, but they just physically are there. So maybe someone squatting, or maybe there's been an apartment takeover, and they don't have a legal right, but they are physically there. And so we were concerned that that person then might sort of become, the occupier. And so we wanted to ensure in the definition that we specify that an occupier is only someone who has lawful possession. So they have a legal right to be there, and they have a legal responsibility for that place, that premises. So just to explain a bit. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Minister?
Yes, thank you very much for the explanation. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, the motion is in order to the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor? Okay. All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur with this amendment?
I concur, Madam Chair.
Okay, clause 1 as amended. Does committee agree? MLA to start.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that subclause 1 of Bill 34 be amended by A, deleting the definition member, and B, adding the following definition in alphabetical order. Peace officer means A, a member as defined in subsection 2(1) of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Act, or B, a member of a class of persons prescribed as peace officers under subsection 1(4). Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. The motion is in order to the motion. Okay. Kiro?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, this motion comes from the extensive consultations committee did with members of the public, business owners, the RCMP, bylaw officers, the city of Yellowknife, the town of Hay River, and others. And there was a consensus that the communities we spoke to, or many people in the communities we spoke to, wanted to see more users of the legislation to allow for broader enforcement, so it wouldn't all fall on the shoulders of the RCMP. The bill as written currently only defines members as RCMP members who can enforce the act. So this will allow the minister to add other peace officers under regulations that would bring other enforcement officers into the act. So whether that's bylaw officers, sheriffs, private security, that's a question for another day, and I'm sure the minister will, if this amendment carries, the minister will have to have those conversations, but this gives more flexibility and is forward-looking. So if there are communities that desire this level of enabling authority to have things like bylaw officers enforce the act, then they'll be able to. It doesn't mean they have to, it just means that they can, if it's a choice that they want to make for their communities. And I think that's important to give the flexibility and ensure this legislation goes as far as possible and doesn't just put more work on to the RCMP, who already have stretched resources that we know about. So that is the intention behind the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MLA Tessart. To the motion, MLA Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On this one, I am supportive of the motion. I just wanted to urge the minister that when regulations are being developed and consideration is being made of which other kinds of peace officers might be able to enforce this, I do think there should be a lot of public consultation and really thoughtful public consideration of what this means. I think we heard from the public, on the one hand, there was interest in having, for example, bylaw officers be able to enforce more aspects of the act. But then when we would ask people, oh, well, are you comfortable having bylaw officers arrest people? There was much more hesitation and concern of like, oh, well, maybe we don't want that power. So it may be necessary in regulations to be more nuanced in specifying, if possible, whether there's certain aspects of enforcement that certain peace officers may be enabled to do or not do, and also consideration of, as my colleague mentioned, while regulations would only be enabling, and so it would still be up to, for example, municipalities to decide whether they want their bylaw officers to be enforcing various aspects of this. Just considering the dynamic that if the territory enables it, that may lead to sort of public expectation or pressure to then do it. And even if a municipality feels that they might not have the resources or be prepared to, for example, be actually having their officers arrest people. I think there's a lot of careful consideration that needs to be put into that, and it's not something that we should be sort of rushing into without thinking through, what does that mean? And are we creating a danger that municipalities might say, oh, sounds like a good idea, but have they really thought through, especially if you're in a community without an RCMP officer? Okay, so you arrest someone or you detain them and hold them, then what? And so anyway, I just think it really needs to be carefully thought through what we mean when we're talking about enforcement, what that would involve, how it would interact with the RCMP. And so I think that all needs to be done in public, with public input. And so while I support us creating that option to be sorted out in regulations, I think it needs to be done really carefully. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. To the motion?
Question.
Okay. Question has been called. All those in favor? Yay. All those opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. Does the minister concur with the amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, I concur.
Okay. Clause 1 as amended. Does committee agree? MLA McNeely.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On this motion, I move that Bill 34 be amended by adding the following after subclause 1 brackets 3 brackets 4, the minister may prescribe classes of persons who, by virtue of their offices, are peace officers for the purposes of this act. Thank you.
Thank you, MLA McNeely. The motion is in order. To the motion.
Question.
Okay, question has been called. All those in favor? Yay. Okay. All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur to the with this amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, I concur.
Clause 1 as amended. Does committee agree? Okay. Clause 2, does committee agree? Clause 3, does committee agree? MLA Testart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill 34 be amended by deleting subclause 3 brackets 2 and substituting the following. 2, a person who contravenes subsection brackets 1 commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to one or more of the following. A fine of not more than $10,000. B, a term of imprisonment not exceeding 6 months. C, an order prohibiting them from attending the premises for a term not exceeding 3 years. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, the motion is in order. To the motion. Kira, MLA Testart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I answer to both. So this motion was committee considered that there should be we heard a lot about informal bans on people entering property. So if there's a place of business and there's, we see this all the time actually, there's shoplifting or people who are disorderly when they're in that premises, that property owners are banning those people kind of informally. And this creates a new penalty if you are found in contravention of the act that would allow an order that would prohibit an individual found to contravene the act for a term not exceeding 3 years. So that would give some legal certainty to those bans that go on. Of course, it wouldn't. There's other ways to exercise this act. Anytime if a property owner wants someone to leave, they would be in contravention of the act unless specific things apply. But this is just to give greater certainty to a court that this is an acceptable punishment and that a period of 3 years can be applied as a ban. And that aligns with similar provisions in the Summary Convictions and Procedures Act, which is why the 3-year number is there. And committee felt that was an appropriate penalty to be included to the legislation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. To the motion.
Question?
Question has been called. All those in favor?
Yay.
All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur with this amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, I concur.
Okay. Clause 3 is amended. Does committee agree? MLA Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill 34 be amended by adding the following after subclause 3, bracket 2. 2.1, a person who contravenes an order made under paragraph 3, bracket 2C, commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to one or more of the following. A fine of not more than $10,000. B, a term of imprisonment not exceeding 6 months. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. The motion is in order. To the motion?
Question?
Okay. Question has been called. All those in favor? Yay. All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur with this amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, I concur.
Okay. Clause 3 as amended. Does committee agree? Clause 4, does committee agree? Clause 5, does committee agree? Clause 6, does committee agree? Clause 7, does committee agree? MLA Tissar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill 34 be amended by adding the following after Clause 7, unlawful notice. 7.1 brackets 1, a person shall not give notice that entry is prohibited to premises unless A, they are occupier of the premises, or B, they are authorized by the occupier of the premises. 2, a person who contravenes subsection 1 commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of not more than $2,000. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The motion is in order. To the motion. MLA Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to note the reasoning behind this one as well. And so we noted that, I mean, there's already cases where sometimes people will post no trespassing signs where it's actually public land, commissioner's land, just because they don't want people there. They're sort of informally taken over a space and don't want other people around, so they might post a sign like that. And while this act wouldn't sort of give validation or legal weight behind someone falsely posting a sign like that, we were concerned that still, if you post a sign and people know that now, you know, this is a territorial act, this is an offense, there's going to be a lot of people that are just sort of driven away or not able to access public land when they should be able to, just by the fact that someone has posted a sign. And they're not going to have any way of knowing whether someone has, well, easily knowing whether someone had the right to actually post that sign. So we wanted to provide a way to dissuade people from doing that, you know, fraudulently or falsely, or putting up no trespassing signs where they don't have the right to do so, and preventing people from accessing public land by actually having an actual penalty for that, to know that, you know, you can't use this act, you know, I suppose you could say fraudulently. So, yeah, we just wanted to make that clear to people that you can't post no trespassing signs unless you have the right to do so. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you. To the motion?
Question?
Question has been called. All those in favor? Yay. All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur with this amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, I concur.
Okay. Clause 7 as amended, does committee agree? Clause 8, does committee agree? Clause 9, does committee agree? Okay. Clause 10, does committee agree? MLA McNeely?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill 34 be amended in subclauses 10 brackets 1 and brackets 2 by striking out member and substituting peace officers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. The motion is in order to the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor?
Yay.
All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur with this amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, I concur.
Clause 10 as amended, does committee agree? Okay. Clause 11, does committee agree? MLA McNeely?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill 34 be amended by striking out member and substituting peace officer in each of the following provisions. Brackets A, subclause 11, brackets 1, and brackets B, that portion of subclause 11, brackets 2, presiding paragraph, brackets A, and C, paragraph 11, brackets 2, and brackets B. Thank you.
The motion is in order to the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All those in favor?
Yay.
All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur with this amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, I concur.
Clause 11 as amended, does committee agree? Clause 12, does committee agree?
Agreed.
Clause 13, does committee agree? MLA Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill 34 be amended by adding the following after paragraph 13A. A.1, prescribing classes of persons who, by virtue of their offices, are peace officers for the purposes of this act.
Okay, the motion is in order to the motion.
Question.
Okay, question has been called. All those in favor?
Yay.
All those opposed? The motion is carried. Does the minister concur with this amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair, I concur.
Okay. Clause 13 as amended, does committee agree?
Agreed.
Okay. Clause 14, does committee agree?
Agreed.
Okay. We will now return to the bill number and title, Bill 34, Trespass to Property Act. Shall the bill's title and number carry?
Agreed. Thank you.
Does committee agree that Bill 34, Trespass to Property Act is now ready for consideration in Committee of the Whole? MLA Testard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill 34, Trespass to Property Act, be reported to the Legislative Assembly and ready for consideration in Committee of the Whole as amended. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The motion is in order to the motion.
Question.
Okay, question has been called. All those in favor?
Yay.
All those opposed? Okay, Bill 30, motion is carried. Bill 34, Trespass to Property Act will be reported to the Legislative Assembly as ready for consideration in committee in the whole as amended. Thank you to the Minister McDonough and his official for joining us today. The meeting is now concluded.